Hey everyone, John here from School of Trade. Today we're going to be taking a look at a short trade here out of an area of resistance that we talked about in the newsletter last night. Very strong area of resistance that we're coming back to retest between the 12,738 and 12,658 area. The market came back to the scene of the crime, and now we're seeing them push into this area. So looking for the sellers to dive down. We've seen the buyers fail so many times off the highs that now we can get in with a nice tight little stop here. So the stop is going to be at 12,700. The entry is at 12,645, and we're looking for the market to dive down a little bit further. Now, we always need to make sure that the target is at least as large as the stop, which in this case, the first objective I'm looking for is support at 12,575. So that's going to be the first area, which is beyond our 1-to-1 risk reward. And then after that, we're simply just looking for the market to want to fall back down into an area of support. In this case, we have a rising trend line working its way higher, and that's the bottom edge of this ascending wedge coming through here. Now, if you take a look at the newsletter from yesterday, pop this open here, we can see this area is what we were talking about, finding a massive amount of resistance. It was very reminiscent of crude oil, where it came up, trapped the highs, and then just dunked back down to the lows. And that is exactly what happened. If we look at the bigger picture, looking at the overnight session, we can see they held that area and they fiddled around with it for a while. That's what happens when you go into the overnight session, but eventually they made their way all the way back down to the lows. Now, just because they finished their objective to the downside doesn't mean, as we saw yesterday, that doesn't mean that that area is any less weak, but you do need to give them a little bit more emphasis on seeing more reaction. You can't aggressively sell into it and just add into it if you need to. Otherwise, you need to wait for a pattern setup, which we have right here, and that's giving us our entry short. So everything's looking really nice. Nice tight stop. First target coming off at 12,575. After that, 530 at the moment. That will move as we get more candles to complete. So we'll give the sellers a little time here and see if we can drive down into our first target. Bears pushing down, very nice bearish continuation that we're seeing so far. Because of this bearish continuation, we're seeing targets one tick away. We're going to reduce the risk a little bit further here, drop the stop into 12,660, and that reduces most of the risk. Our stop is only from 45 to 60, not a very big stop at all anymore. And once we can get this target filled, then we'll be looking to reduce the risk even further to only one contract. You could opt to go to break even right off the bat. But that being said, we do have some areas of possible concern in the way that you don't necessarily want to mess with. And if it does bounce, I'm okay taking 2-3 ticks of heat in this case because we've already locked in a much better than 1-to-1 risk reward on the first two contracts. So you can play it a couple different ways. You can leave your risk completely off the table, move the stop to break even +1 even, just to reduce all of the risk, or you can take it a little bit slower and give it some time to work its way down. The objective to the downside, just a couple ticks away now. We've reduced the risk to almost nothing at this point, and now we're just waiting for the sellers to finish the job off to that rising area of support underneath us. Sellers pushing down to the lows. Our modified objective now for the current wedge lows, 12,540, and that's what we're looking for this final objective. Now, we've come a couple ticks away. We're only 2 ticks away. We're actually shifting down to almost 1 tick away. So because of that, I do want to reduce the risk. It's not worth leaving full risk on the table anymore for a trade that has already done what it's supposed to do. And there we get the fill. Beautiful move down. That's exactly what we were looking for. It's a rejection off of that prior massive area of resistance that we saw through the overnight session, and it's also the top of a wedge to add even more to it. So everything piling up in the exact same place. Wait for the signal, jump in, and drive the market lower into our target. So that's going to do it for this one. If you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Don't forget to check out our trial at schooloftrade.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.